Hello, English students. Mrs. Kirchhoff here. I wanted to take a closer look at pronouns today. So, as you know, a pronoun is a word that takes the place of a noun. And our main focus for pronouns is looking at subject pronouns and object pronouns. So, as you know, um, any subject essentially is doing the action of the sentence. So, if we look at our definition here, a subject pronoun is a pronoun that functions as the subject. So it's usually located in the subject place. It's the who or the what of the sentence. So some of the popular subject pronouns that we would see if they're singular are I, you, he, she, or it. If we're using plural subjective pronouns, we would use words like we, you, and they. We also have what's called an object pronoun. We have not talked about this as much in class as we have subjects, but basically, an object in a sentence is receiving the action of the verb. Okay, so a pronoun, an object pronoun, is a pronoun that takes the action of the verb. So since it is the object of the action, it is usually located in the action part of the sentence. So typically, your subject pronoun will come before the verb and the object will come after. Not all the time, but it's a good place to start. So some examples of objective pronouns that are singular would include me, you, him, her, and it, whereas plural objective pronouns would include us, you, and them. So now I want to take a look at some examples. So I've got this cheat sheet at the bottom here with the different subjective pronouns and the objective pronouns, and I've got a sample sentence at the top. So this is my sample sentence. The company president congratulated the new managers, Jane and blank. So it's either going to be Jane and I or Jane and me. So our tendency is usually to want to say Jane and I, right? We've had it drilled into our heads that you would always say the person's name and then and I. But let's break this down a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. So first of all, I need to figure out what is my subject of the sentence, right? What is doing the action? What's doing the verb? So in this case, it would be the company president. That is my subject, right? And we know what's my verb? Well, that would be this action word right here, congratulated. So I'm going to label that S for subject, V for verb. Now, what's receiving the congratulations or who is being congratulated? That is our object of the sentences. So we know that it's referring to the new managers, right? And the new managers are Jane and blank. So actually, the object of the sentence receiving the congratulations would be the new managers, Jane and blank is my object, so O for object. So if I look at my two lists here, I need to find a pronoun on the object side that's going to work, and it looks like me is actually going to work. So the company president congratulated the new managers, Jane and me. So that kind of goes against what we're used to hearing in our ears, but grammatically, I know this is correct, right? Because Jane and me are the ones receiving the congratulations. So that means that's the object of the sentence. Now, there is a shortcut. So let me show you guys. When you're trying to figure this out, if you have words in the middle of your sentence that are sort of complicating things or throwing the meaning of it off, you can cut them out. So let's take a look at this again. The company president congratulated. If I get rid of all this extra stuff, would I say the company president congratulated I, or would I say the company president congratulated me? So in this case, it sounds better to our ears to actually say me, right? Because we know me is the objective pronoun, right? Me is the pronoun that's receiving the action of the verb. So it's the object, and it sounds better to our ears to use the subjective pronoun me here. So that's something that you can do if you're not sure if you should be using a subjective or objective pronoun, is you can cut out some of the stuff you don't need and just look at the pronoun by itself. Now let's take a look at another example. So this sentence at the top says, Dad, will you help blank girls with this exercise on parts of speech? So Dad, will you help we girls or Dad, will you help us girls? So we have to figure out what's the subject, what's the object of the sentence, and who's receiving the verb. So if I take a look at this, the first thing I notice is that things are a little bit inverted here because I'm asking a question. But I can still figure this out. So right away, I notice my verb is help, right? That's an action word, helping. So that's my verb. So who is doing the help and who's receiving the help? Well, Dad would be the one that is helping, right? Dad is doing the action, so Dad is the subject. Who's going to be receiving the help? Well, the girls, right? And this pronoun is referring to the girls. So that means this is my object of the sentence. So I need to look on my charts. Is we objective or is us objective? And I can see right there, us is my objective pronoun. So that's what I'm going to use here. So Dad, will you help us girls with this exercise on parts of speech? So again, the shortcut that you can take is get rid of what you don't need in the sentence. So if I were to do that, I could actually eliminate everything after the pronoun. So if I go back to this, I could get rid of all of this. So should I say, Dad, will you help us? Or Dad, will you help we? So clearly here, it's very easy to tell. I should be using us as my objective pronoun. So that's another tip you can use. Let's take a look at a third example. The sentence at the top says, someone should teach those spectators in blank a lesson in sportsmanship. So we need to figure out what's the subject, verb, and object of the sentence. So what's my verb here? That might be the easiest one to start with, right? What's the action word? So in this case, my action word would be teach, right? That's my verb here. So I'm going to underline that and label it V. So who is doing the teaching? Who's doing the verb? That's my subject. Well, as of right now, it just says someone. We know that's one of those indefinite pronouns, right? So someone is my subject. And what is my object of the sentence, right? Who is the people or the group that should be taught or receiving the action of this teaching? Well, that would be the spectators and blank. So that's the object of my sentence. So I have two pronoun options. These are both plural, they and them. So I have to figure out which one is objective. And I can see they is subjective, so I don't want that one. I want to use them here because it's an objective pronoun. So I would use them. Someone should teach those spectators and them a lesson in sportsmanship. So again, let's take a look at the shortcut. That's the long way of figuring these out. Let's take a look at the shorter way. So if I get rid of what I don't need, and I go back to this sentence, I could temporarily erase where it says, someone should teach those spectators and. If I get rid of that, this will make it a little easier for me. So someone should teach they a lesson in sportsmanship, or someone should teach them a lesson in sportsmanship. So right away here, I can automatically tell it should be them, right? I need that objective pronoun. So someone is still my subject, teach is still my verb, but it's easy to tell, well, who's being taught? What's the object? Them is the object. So finally, this is a little cheat sheet that you can use to remember all of this. We've seen this box at the top here, this rectangular box with the indefinite pronouns, the singular, the plural ones, and the ones that can go either way. Down here in the boxes below, we have the subject pronouns and the object pronouns, which is a quick definition. So I hope this was helpful. Good luck, and let me know if you have any questions.